Okay, I'm going to put my base down, and now I'm going to turn to my lighter pink color to make my pop-up heart. Now let me get real close to the camera so you can see that there are some cut lines there inside. There's 4 of them, and it creates 2 little protruding tabs. And do just make sure that your machine hasn't kind of left those connected anywhere. Just kind of give them a little press and make sure that they're loose. And then now I want to do this next fold. I want to do it up in the air. I don't want to do it against my table. My textured side is up, and then I'm going to fold it right up the middle, and you'll see what happens to those tabs. They stick out the bottom. That's why you don't want to do it against the table. You want to do it up in the air, because we do want those tabs nice and straight and coming out the bottom of our heart. Those are what is going to connect our heart to our base. Now, before we connect it to our base, let's go ahead and work the interior heart. There is one half that has the connection up here on the top, and then the other half has the connection on the bottom. Now, the one that is connected up at the top has 2 folds. There is one that's right where it connects to the base, and then there's one right up next to the heart half. So it's 2 of them. And go ahead and fold those both up and work them really well. See how that's looking? There's 2 folds. Now on the other side, the one that's connected down towards the bottom, there's just 1 fold, and it's right up next to the base, right there. And you'll see that the machine's made that score for you, but I'm just showing you where those are. And let's go ahead and work that 1 fold just like that. So now I've got my folds for my interior heart all ready to go. So now I can add the adhesive under those tabs and glue it to my base. So I just want adhesive on my tabs. Here's what I find easiest. I'm going to make sure my non-textured side is up, and I'm going to go back to some of those scraps again, and I will put them right up underneath my tabs so that I'm isolating them. Let me just arrange that so you can see it. So I've isolated my 2 tabs, and now that's going to allow me to add quite a bit of adhesive from my tape runner all over the back of those tabs without worrying that I'm putting my adhesive elsewhere where I don't want it. So now I'll remove those little scraps, and my 2 tabs are sticky, and now it's time to add those to the base. It's going to be difficult to see on the video, but there are some little perforations that the die has made for you that make lining up those little corners of your pop-up part very easy. So all I'm going to do now is just take my tabs, line them up with those little perforations in the corners there. I'll get one side on, give it a good press, and then I'll make sure that the other side is lined up, give it a good press, and then I'll just fold it and press those tabs very well to make sure that they're secured to the base. And there you see them, right there and there. Now it's time for our little center tilting heart, and that's what those 2 little heart halves make that we worked those folds earlier. We just twist it to get the top one over the bottom one, and then that creates a heart. And then notice there that it kind of tilts to the right. And then to secure it, right there down below that half there, you'll see a little kind of shelf, and that is a place where we can add a couple little mini glue dots and then glue our little heart half to it, just like that, and that's going to complete that. There's a couple little glue dots I added, and then I will just take that little heart half there and press them to the glue dot so that that whole heart now that's created is tilting to the right, which is what I want. You can kind of see underneath that it makes a little box, and then see how when you fold it, and let me just train it here, it's going to flip over and stay nice and flat, and then it will tilt to the right. Now, I do want my ends of my heart to stay open nice and wide, and that's what those little tabs are for on the base. If I'm going to fold that down flat, but then make sure my tab is folded inward, I can add a little glue dot there to that tab, and then as I close the card, it will attach itself to the pop-up heart in exactly the right position. So here's a little mini glue dot, and I'll put that on top of that tab that's folded inward. And then watch what I do here. All I'm going to do is make sure that that's folded nice and flat, and then so that the heart comes over the top of it, and then see what I'm doing there. I will just give it a good press in the closed position, and then that makes sure that that is connected right where it needs to, and I'll repeat it on the other side. And there's that other side connected now. So our heart is popping up. It's looking great. We just want to add a couple more and then we'll be done. In the center, you do want to add one of your solid hearts. So that could be the same color or a contrasting color, or you could even cut a photo. But there's a seam there and you do want to cover it as well as make sure that the pop-up stays together really nicely. So I'll use my contrasting color there and just add some tape runner to it. And then press that now into the center of my heart sculpture to help keep it together as well as decorate it. So that will help keep the sculpture together. And there's even a smaller heart, if you should so desire, you could glue that in the center as well. Now on the sides there, you'll see they have that little heart-shaped hole, and that's adorable. You could just leave the sculpture just like it is. But those little hearts with mechanisms are made to slide into that hole. And that allows you to have a couple hanging hearts on your Hearts of Plenty die. So I just kind of separate it with my fingers there. I'll try and do this one-handed so that I can slide it through the side there until that little tab goes right through the little heart hole. And just give it a good wiggle to make sure that it's kind of loose and just hanging there. That's really what you want. And then we'll just do the same thing with the heart on the other side. And now we've got our little hanging hearts. And there our sculpture is done and we are ready for decoration. Okay, just a couple quick little decorating ideas. Use the die to die cut a heart-shaped photo, and that can be used in place of that cardstock on the center of the sculpture. And what's so nice about this die is it flips that photo over and away from the fold when the card is closed. You don't end up with any folds in your faces. Another little idea, how about that little heart that came out of the bottom of the pop-up and just using a paper clip and putting that somewhere on the die. That's kind of a fun look. Here's another idea. I've taken a little metal charm that I just found in my stash and glued one of the small hearts to it. And now I could put that somewhere up on my pop-up, and then that will dangle when the heart is opened. I always think that's a fun look. How much you decorate your Hearts of Plenty sculpture is really completely up to you. And the beauty of die cutting, especially with pop-ups, is that you get to spend your time doing the fun decorations and not having to do all that cutting and scoring and measuring by hand. Now, if you want to know where to buy the Hearts of Plenty die, visit Sizzix.com, and you can always find ideas on my blog, karenburniston.typepad.com. Thanks a lot!